students are in fact technologically literate, and then all students will graduate from high school. And so just to kind of give you an idea, right now, the United States graduates about 70% from high school. So, in order to make sure that, that all those previous things happen, there has to be some measure of accountability for schools. And the way in which they typically do this is through standardized tests. Although there are two states that don't necessarily have to do standardized tests, Nebraska and Rhode Island. So what they do is they want to make sure that everybody's achieving this. So I want to make sure that fifth graders this year, however many fifth graders were proficient this year, I want to make sure that more fifth graders next year are proficient. So you have to show me as a school that you are improving every single year. And if you don't make AYP, which is what Shane was talking about. So if with the first year, if you don't make AYP, then it's fine, nothing happens, you get a slap on the wrist, you may be put on a list of failing schools and it's published in your local paper and everybody thinks you're a disgrace, but nothing actually happens to you. By the second year, what starts happening is what Shane was talking about, is schools, parents can actually take their students and take them to a different classroom. Or take them to a different school, different district. Whatever they want to do, they can do charter schools, etc., etc. So there are other types of options too as it goes down at each additional year that you don't meet AYP as a school. You have to do additional types of, there are more penalizations, more penalties, more restrictions placed into place. So providing special tutoring, yeah.
Do they shut down schools? That's almost like that in my other ed class.
Yeah, they will never hopefully shut down a school. What it has down here is like the year 6 of missing AYP. If it misses it for its 6th consecutive year, it must implement the restructuring plan developed the previous year. So the restructuring plan usually involves like bringing in new administration, firing the old, kind of cleansing the system, whatever needs to be done to make this school system more effective. So, not necessarily, but it can in some shape or form. Yeah?
What would happen if the standardized test was one error were so high that it would be out of proportion? Would you always have to choose to get higher than that or something?
I don't know, that's a good question. So if you just have some brilliant people that are going through that particular grade? I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know what would happen in that particular circumstance, but I think that they would assume that it would normalize, and from a statistical point of view. And if it's that first year that they don't meet it, as long as they meet it the second year, then it's fine. Yes.
Yeah, in my high school, we were really high. I think we got in the 90s for everything, and we got put on the failing list the next year because we couldn't top ourselves because it was high enough.
Yeah. So as long as you come the following year, then it should be okay.
So does it follow the fifth graders and then when they're in sixth grade that they do better, or the next fifth grade class?
The next fifth grade class. Yep. Is that what your question here? Again, what was your name? Joe. As Joe was saying, it's a very, very well-intended plan, but not necessarily incredibly well thought out. So what happens is with No Child Left Behind, again, they want to make students successful. So within the United States, we have something that's really fantastic because we don't have a nationalized curriculum, which means that in most other countries, what they do is they say, okay, here's the curriculum, this is what you will teach. Here's day 1, here's day 2, here's day 3. So you follow this and you go through, and that's what you do as a teacher. In the United States, instead of doing that, we have particular standards. So each state, the other great thing is, good or bad depending, because sometimes it's really difficult to manage, each state is responsible for its own educational plan. So the state of Indiana has their own standards. They have their own way of doing things, and not only that, but most of your districts and corporations are even more heavily in charge, okay? So, which means that your districts can say, this is what we're going to do in order to meet No Child Left Behind. So in Nebraska and Rhode Island, they allow their districts to choose whether or not they're going to measure based on standardized tests or whether they're going to measure on other forms, whether it be like portfolios or essay exams or things like that. So they have different ways of doing it. The reason why they do this is because different states may have different things in order to make their population better better citizens for their particular state. So Michigan, back in the day, may have had standards that were really focused on, you know, the auto industry and how to do, you know, how to prepare people for the auto industry. Maybe people down in, and this is going to be terrible, but people in Maine, maybe they have particular standards that are related to, I don't know, what's the big industry there, the crab, whatnot. So maybe they have particular standards that emphasize that. I don't know, that's a terrible example. But, so it just all depends on what a state thinks is important and what will make those students most successful for their particular state.